and in other areas, we're hit with now multiple atmospheric rivers. This heavy, warm rain combined with accumulated snowfall is leading to the risk of flooding, rock and mudslides in the burn scar areas, and again, heavy snowfall in the higher elevations and over the passes, increasing the likelihood of road closures and avalanches. And so we're asking the public to please limit non-essential travel during the peak of the storm. But if you must travel, please stay aware of the situation. We encourage you to go to the Caltrans website or use your smartphone and go to the app and check Quick Map before you leave and understand the situation during your travels. When you're out there, we're asking that you please slow down, allow plenty of time to reach your destination safely. Visibility may be limited, the roads be slick, snowfall and slush, and again, accumulated water as the higher rain elevations melts some of the accumulated snow. During the storm, you'll see many Caltrans crews out there working on the roadside and the highways. Please move over to allow the crews, the CHP, emergency responders to do their work and to keep you safe and the roads open. We'll be doing everything we can to keep the highways open, but public safety will be our #1 priority. If there is a closure, as Director Ward mentioned, please do not go around the barrier. It is there for your safety, and we will pick it up as soon as it's safe to do so. We already have pre-positioned equipment around the state at critical locations preparing for multiple hazards. So flooding, slides, snow. We have more than 4,000 Caltrans crew members working 12-hour shifts around the clock to quickly respond to emergencies and take preemptive steps. We've worked with the construction contracting industry, and they're ready to step in the moment we ask them to help us respond to this event. Our crews are out clearing drains and culverts, removing downed trees. Weather Service mentioned the high winds and the saturated soils. When we're monitoring bridges as the river levels rise, and working with the information with the Department of Water Resources and others to monitor flooding on the roadways. Some regions have received between 15 and 45 feet of snow. And our crews are out there conducting preemptive blasts to better manage unpredictable avalanches in some of our critical mountain areas. Many of our field staff have been working almost continuously during these winter storms since late December. So far, Caltrans has plowed 3.5 million miles of roadway since the beginning of the snow season. We've removed 45 million cubic yards of snow this last month alone. That's enough snow to fill more than 100 Rose Bowls. We're out there working to keep things moving, to keep you safe, and we ask that you remain vigilant during these storms and don't travel if you don't have to. Thank you. I now turn it over to Chief Joe Tyler, CAL FIRE.
Good morning. My name is Joe Tyler. I'm the Director and Fire Chief at CAL FIRE. CAL FIRE is there to support the California Fire and Rescue Mutual Aid System and to support the people of California. CAL FIRE is currently supporting 26 different incidents with 39 mission taskings in 16 counties in the incorporated city of South Lake Tahoe. We support with up to 47 hand crews in cooperation with the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, the California Conservation Corps, and the California Military Department. We have multiple fire engines, heavy equipment such as bulldozers, helicopters that are feeding livestock on the North Coast, mobile kitchen units to support our emergency responders, and specially trained incident management personnel supporting emergency operations centers in the state. Our command centers across the state are seeing an increase in call volume for calls of service to 911. We make sure that we have resources that continue to be available across the state of California and all the counties, including air rescue helicopters in cooperation with our other partners as well. As said earlier, please be aware of erosion and mudslides from burn scars over these last few years. And lastly, I ask that you please heed the evacuation warnings of your city and county officials, your local, county, and state law enforcement, of their warnings to evacuate for the safety of yourselves and the safety of our first responders. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Chief Charlie Sampson with California Highway Patrol.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, everybody. The CHP is currently monitoring all the incidents in traffic safety and public safety within our 8 field divisions throughout the state. The most important thing that I can express today from the California Patrol is exactly what Director Ward and everybody up here mentioned today, is heed those warnings. It's so important, especially on our roadways. Our roadways are getting flooded, and they're getting flooded by a large amount of water. We're seeing a lot of incidents where individual drivers believe that they can drive through these flooded roadways, and they get stuck and create secondary problems for a lot of our first responders. Our first responders and many of the emergency management personnel standing up here today are doing an incredible job throughout this storm system and those previous storm systems. But please, from the California Highway Patrol, please slow down. Make sure you're wearing your seatbelt, your child are restrained correctly. Make sure you have a go bag in your vehicle so that you're prepared in case you do get stranded. Have an extra blanket in there. Have some food and water, and make sure that you take, if you can, an extra battery for your cell phone so that when you are in trouble on the roadway, you can call 911, and those emergency responders can get to you in a timely manner. So thank you very much, and please be safe out there. And for that, I'd like to turn it over to Colonel David Kaufman.
Thank you, Chief Sampson. I'm David Kaufman with the California National Guard. Your California National Guard is supporting this response effort with a total of 36 high water vehicles at this point. We've activated the soldiers and the teams to operate those vehicles. Moreover, we have aviation assets that are available to help respond to this effort. With that, I turn it over to Ms. Kim Johnson, is the Director of the Department of Social Services. Thank you.
Thank you. We have mobilized much of the California Health and Human Services Agency to continue to respond to the storms. And as you mentioned, you heard from Director Ward, we have several shelters currently open. In addition to that, the Department of Social Services has pre-positioned assets in 8 counties to be able to quickly stand up additional shelters with our local county partners in the American Red Cross as needed. The team at the Department of Public Health is proactively engaging with healthcare partners in areas that are most likely to be impacted to ensure they can both maintain operations and have sufficient capacity. The California Department of Aging is working with local Meals on Wheels and other local service providers to distribute meals to those in need. And we continue across California Health and Human Services Agency to support vulnerable populations, those who are homeless or unsheltered, older adults and those with medical vulnerabilities, people with disabilities, both visible and invisible, people residing in our congregate settings across the state. We've continued to engage with statewide partners to ensure we are collectively preparing and sharing resources together and addressing any unmet needs. As you've heard today, there are things that each of us can do to be prepared, including preparing for ourselves. We encourage you to visit CalHHS's website, chhs.ca.gov, to download a template so you can personally create your emergency plan. This is especially important for those who have access or functional needs. Again, as you've heard, please check on your neighbors. Connect with the older person in your life and others who might need additional assistance. We are simply stronger together. If you're concerned about the well-being of a loved one residing in one of the long-term settings across the state, we encourage you to call the statewide long-term care ombuds crisis line, which is available 24/7 at 1-800-231-4024. And again, this is a lot for all of us to continue to absorb. We can be easily overwhelmed. It is okay to ask for help. We all need help sometimes. So we encourage you to reach out to CalHope, where you'll have peer counselor to listen with compassion and support. That phone number is 1-833-317-HOPE or 4673. You can also visit calhope.org. Additionally, isolation can be difficult for our loved ones and our neighbors, so we have established a friendship line for older adults. It's a free crisis intervention hotline and a warm line for non-emergency emotional support calls. It is available by dialing 1-888-670-1360. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to the FEMA 9 Administrator, Bob Fenton.
Well, thank you, Director Johnson. I'm glad to be back here at Cal OES and working with such a distinguished team, and what a great partnership we have with not only Cal OES, but all the state and federal agencies. Going back to earlier this year as we responded to the winter flooding, as we continue to work on the recovery from those individuals, and now as we face new snowstorms and floods, that partnership continues. We've moved a team up here to OES. Yesterday, underneath the governor's leadership, do some requested a emergency declaration from the president. The president this morning granted that declaration for 34 counties. That allows FEMA to direct other federal agencies to provide life-saving and emergency assistance as needed to respond to not only the current events happening right now, but the other atmospheric rivers as they come in the days to week in front of us. We are coordinated here together to ensure that we're able to provide that assistance seamlessly and quickly. We started working together a couple days ago and are also using not only our authorities but other federal agencies' authorities. And an example of that is the Corps of Engineers providing 500,000 sandbags based on a request from the state. We'll continue to work together as we go through this and look at other forms of assistance that may be needed. And I would also just echo the other speakers in front of me to listen to local emergency managers and heed their warnings during this event. With that, I'm going to turn it back to Director Ward for questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Questions?
Director Ward, how would
I knew there couldn't
I'll
be
be
no-
that person. How would you respond to some, especially in the Inland Empire, who say that a lot of this action is happening later than I guess some would have liked, that this request for the presidential emergency declaration happened, should have happened sooner? Just your response to that.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about how this all kind of unfolds. So we had the storms from before, so we dealt with those. Pulled back our resources for counties that no longer needed our help. Then we started to see the snow unfold, more rain and storms coming. There was a lot that was pre-positioned. There was a lot that was moved out to counties, including San Bernardino, pushed, quite honestly, without them requesting our help. We pushed resources to them. But we were able to do that under the mutual aid system that California enjoys, quite frankly, and without needing any additional help from the federal government. And as Bob Fenton mentioned, once we started taking things out of our warehouses, once we started needing sandbags, then basically we started to ask for direct federal assistance, what the governor did last night, and so that we can tap into a broader range of federal agency support, people, equipment, technical assistance, stuff like sandbags, generators, those kinds of things. And there's a debate, I know, out in the local governments many times when we don't jump right to a major disaster declaration. But given all of what's going on, all of the counties who are right now really doing life-saving, life-sustaining, critical, essential response, we don't have the time to have them divert those efforts to accumulate the kind of damage estimates that we are going to need to get a major disaster declaration from the federal government. FEMA's policies for California, one, our costs have to exceed more than $70 million. Do we think we'll get there? We think we will. But right now we're concentrating on those essential, critical, life-saving, life-sustaining issues, and we'll deal with the major disaster declaration, which we anticipate to request when we can get to it after we do our critical response.
The first major disaster declaration, and I know we haven't gotten to that point yet with this system, but is there an estimate on that damage and the concerns of compounding that with this system?
Is your question, do we know what the costs are? We do not know the total costs
Okay.
yet. Yes,
And then
absolutely.
for Bob, I know the president, and I might be barking up the wrong tree with this question. I know the president is supposed to actually come to California next week, and I didn't know if there was any discussion or concern that the system might throw off that time, that plan at this
Any
point.
information on the schedule, sorry. Yep, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you all. Appreciate your time.
All right, so that was